Hi everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You with Simon today, and in today's video we're going to be doing another Patreon subscriber chart reading. And as always, this is a wonderful opportunity to talk about an astrology chart, to understand the dynamics of what is occurring for us as souls working on this plane, and again using the evolutionary astrology method of understanding that we can get quite a lot out of what is our journey in this lifetime. So this video series of Patreon subscriber readings is not only a way to nourish the person that's offering their chart to us, so thank you very much for that, by the way, but also the ability for us to get in touch with what EA can present to us as a beautiful way to see astrology in an experiential way. Okay, so let's see what's going on in this astrology chart, right? Just like we had in the previous video, we have a soul that has got Pluto in the 10th house, right? I seem to attract a lot of Pluto 10th house souls for these readings at the moment. And I'm not entirely sure why though, but you know, when you look at Pluto in the 10th house, again, as I've explained always, you know, this is the soul that is coming into this lifetime, and it's about learning or seeing life through cycles, you know, learning about how each decision has a specific cycle to it, and what is the time frame that that cycle shows up as, you know, what is the specific way that when we choose to engage in a choice, Pluto, and we watch the unfolding process occur, there's much wisdom and maturity that has to, you know, take place when you've got Pluto in the 10th house. It's about learning about time, Pluto, you know, in the 10th house of the astrology chart. Now, at a level of understanding life through more of the psychological dynamics, the karma that's associated with Pluto in the 10th house says, I'd like to achieve a certain level of success. I want to actually achieve a certain level of success. I want to be able to meet a certain way of maturity, that people can rely on me, that I can be seen as dependable, and I can take charge of situations, you know? So it's natural for the Pluto 10th house soul to carry the burdens of other people. And with Pluto in Libra, this is the type of soul that can easily carry the burdens of other people's expectations, other people's responsibilities, other people's needs. You know, with Pluto in the 10th house in Libra, I have the same dynamic. It's very easy for us to take on the responsibility that other people don't want to take on for themselves, because ultimately with the Capricorn energy, there is an element of responsibility that, you know, wants to be worked through. It's like, oh, I'll stand up and put my hand up, sometimes in an unconscious way, you know. One of the other ways that Pluto in the 10th house in Libra can show up for you is also having to process through some prior lifetimes in which there's a lot of guilt, you know, carrying guilt around. Maybe you failed. Maybe you failed at upholding a specific agreement. Maybe you failed at a certain responsibility, and that there's an internal judgment that basically creates a situation for you inside of yourself that says, I need to sabotage myself, because this is again a subconscious experience. I sabotage myself and my productivity and the achievement, because I feel like I deserve to not necessarily suffer, but it's more like I deserve to fail, you know, an internalized judgment of incorrectness that can be easily used as a way to keep one's own sense of success from being brought into the world, you know, like a punishment. Now, when we look at the nodes of this astrology chart, you can see here that the south node is in the second house in Aquarius, and the planetary ruler of the south node is in the 11th house, Scorpio. And again, one of the dynamics that shows up over here with this is, you know, prior lifetimes in which the soul is intended to essentially decondition or change the value patterns, not only in how society operates, Pluto in the 10th house, but also the way in which we individuate ourselves. You know, the way that we choose to express our individuality within the group and within society. This is a soul that says, I'd like to throw off the conditioning of what is consensus thinking, or what essentially is how things have always been done in the past might not necessarily be how we can see the future. You know, it's a way of seeing progressiveness as something that's beneficial and not detrimental. It can be easy in the dilemma, pardon me. It can be easy in the dilemma over here to have Pluto in the 10th house, wanting to create security and stability and boundaries, you know, healthy boundaries. And then with the South Node in Aquarius, with planetary ruler being Uranus as well, it says, well, on the contrary, I'd like to reestablish those boundaries. I'd like to, pardon me, I'd like to reform the way that the values work within society. And my unique perception is one of the ways that I'm going to do that. So when we look at the nodal axis, the evolutionary intention of the soul, 8th house with the sun, the North Node is in Leo in the 8th house, and the sun is the planetary ruler of the North Node, and that's in the 7th house, Cancer. The evolutionary intention here is to really actually actively engage and creatively feel secure in one's own sense of identity in order to represent or hold the new changing values within a social paradigm. And it's very easy to look at Mars and Saturn and Jupiter, all in the 9th house in Virgo, as a deep internalized sense of lack or imperfection, or deep criticism for the truth that they uphold, as a way to say, maybe I'm not good enough. The other way that this actually shows up is more along the lines of, pardon me, I do apologize, but pardon me, for showing up and saying, there's an acute crisis in the way that we exist in the world. There's an acute crisis that needs to be improved, that needs to be looked at and said, there are more effective or efficient ways for us to become cleaner in our expression, become cleaner in our truth. So one of the ways in which the paradigm can shift with a soul like this, with your specific signature, is to accept your own truth and to allow your truth to be deeply, deeply validating to yourself, so that the image that you represent can be the very nature of transformation. And you can see there with the moon in the 3rd house Pisces, this person sees themselves inwardly. Moon is always about, how do I see myself? Whenever you look at the moon in the chart, think of the context of how one's own sense of identity is formed, but how you inwardly feel that security and safety. So with the moon being in Pisces, there's a level of fluidity, a level of compassion and empathy, and yet can also potentially be a feeling of surrender or sacrifice. I could sacrifice my own thoughts and opinions. I might be overwhelmed. I might surrender my identity, or it's not important enough, is the types of words that can definitely show up here. It's not meaningful. So with Pluto in the 10th house and the evolutionary intention about the polarity and about the 4th house, this is to initiate a completely new sense of identity in this lifetime, but not to initiate it in terms of just throwing it off the old, but simply to allow progressive change in one's own emotional self-awareness, to create ultimately a security within oneself, to allow their creative individuality to be present and to be deeply transformative to others. Okay. Well, I really hope that you got a lot out of this conversation today, my Patreon subscriber. Thanks very much for your support. And as always, for those of you that are watching this video series, I hope you're learning loads from it. And as always, have a wonderful day. See you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.